no, this fight has become extremely personal to me, and I've never wanted to beat someone so badly in my life, and I'm definitely not going to finish her off quickly. I want to make sure that she remembers every second of that day.
So they asked me the same question, and I said, obviously, if she blocks Floyd, Floyd would tear her up in a boxing match.
So, like, watching TV, I would always have my back up against something because she would sneak up behind me and, like, throw me a rear naked choke.
She was the face of the UFC, a once-in-a-generation talent who dominated everyone. But in just a few moments, everything came crashing down. This is the shocking story of Ronda Rousey's rise and her dramatic fall. She was once a force that seemed unstoppable.
I remember that when he passed, I would just try to just tell myself that he was on a business trip and he'd be back. And that was my way to cope with it.
Finishing opponent after opponent with speed, power, and complete dominance. To millions of fans around the world, she wasn't just a champion. She was a symbol of what was possible for women in combat sports. She changed the sport forever, opening the door for generations of female fighters. But just as fast as she rose, her empire collapsed.
Thinking about killing myself in that exact second, I'm like, I'm nothing. I'm like, what do I do anymore?
In only 2 fights, everything she built came crashing down. What happened to Ronda Rousey remains one of the most shocking stories in MMA history. How the most dominant woman on the planet went from unbeatable to completely broken. To understand Ronda's downfall, we must first understand her rise. Because before the defeats, before the headlines, before the silence, there was dominance unlike anything the sport had seen.
Something to the effect of...
Something to the fact that now he knows how it feels to have a woman beat him for once.
In February 2013, at UFC 157, Ronda Rousey entered the UFC octagon for the first time. She wasn't just another fighter. She was the first woman to ever compete in the UFC. For years, Dana White said women would never fight in the organization, but Ronda changed his mind. She brought skill, personality, and star power that simply couldn't be ignored. Her debut fight was against Liz Carmouche. The world watched as history unfolded. And although Ronda faced trouble early, nearly being choked from behind, she stayed calm, fought out of the position, and ended the fight in the way she knew best, with an armbar. When Carmouche tapped, the arena exploded. Women's MMA was officially real, and Ronda Rousey became the face of it. But nobody, not even her biggest supporters, could imagine what would happen next. From that night forward, Ronda didn't just win fights, she finished them faster and faster, becoming a phenomenon that seemed almost unreal. She would go on a streak that made the world question whether anyone could even compete with her. From 2013 to 2015, Ronda Rousey was not simply a champion, she was a one-woman wrecking machine. 12 fights, 12 wins, all in the first round. Many of those finishes came in under a minute. Some lasted only seconds. Fans barely had time to blink before Ronda had another victory. No matter who stepped into the cage with her, the result was the same. She wasn't just winning, she was overwhelming, outclassing, and dismantling every opponent put in front of her. In December 2013, Ronda faced Miesha Tate for the second time. Tate promised things would be different. She promised she had studied the armbar. She promised she was ready. 14 minutes later, she tapped again. Ronda's dominance wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Opponents entered the cage already doubting themselves, and Ronda entered with complete belief that she was the best in the world. Magazines called her a superhero. She was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. She hosted Saturday Night Live. She became more than a fighter, she became a global figure. But even with all the praise, critics continued to question the strength of her competition. They insisted she hadn't faced a skilled striker. They claimed the division lacked depth. They said no real challenge had yet appeared. That was when the UFC brought her Kat Zingano, an undefeated athlete with knockout power and a style specifically designed to avoid Ronda's strengths. The world waited to see how Ronda would handle her toughest test. The fight lasted 14 seconds. Kat didn't land a single punch. Ronda pulled off one of the fastest submissions in UFC history. At that point, it was impossible to deny how far ahead Ronda seemed. By 2015, Ronda Rousey was bigger than MMA itself. Her popularity crossed over into Hollywood and mainstream entertainment. She was featured in blockbuster films. Talk shows competed to have her as a guest. She was one of the most famous athletes in the world, but with that fame came a dangerous illusion, the belief that she was untouchable. Ronda began to rely less on growth and more on the idea that she was already complete. Her coach at the time, Edmund Tarverdyan, repeatedly told her she was a world-class striker. He told her she didn't need to change. He told her she could beat anyone standing up. Ronda believed him, and when a fighter stops evolving, the rest of the sport catches up. In August 2015, Ronda faced Bethe Correia in Brazil. This fight wasn't just a championship defense, it was personal. Correia taunted Ronda for weeks, even referencing Ronda's father's tragic death. It crossed every line imaginable. Ronda entered the cage that night filled with emotion and determination. The crowd of 45,000 fans watched as she stormed forward, overwhelmed Correia, and finished the fight in just over half a minute. It was vicious, it was emotional, it was dominant. But there was a warning hidden inside the victory. Ronda didn't use her judo, she didn't clinch, she didn't grapple, she boxed. And for the first time in her career, people noticed something troubling. She wasn't good at it. She won because she overwhelmed an opponent who wasn't on her level, not because her striking was sharp. But instead of stepping back to rethink her style, Ronda and her team celebrated the idea that she had become a powerful striker. That belief would soon cost her everything. November 2015, Melbourne, Australia. The largest crowd in UFC history, 56,000 people, packed a stadium to watch Ronda Rousey defend her title against Holly Holm. The world expected another quick finish, another moment of dominance, another demonstration of invincibility. But from the moment Ronda walked to the cage, something felt different. She looked tense, unfocused, even emotional. She refused to touch gloves. Her energy was off. Holly Holm, on the other hand, looked calm. She was a world champion boxer with elite footwork, precision, and experience. She was everything Ronda wasn't prepared for. When the fight started, the truth became obvious immediately. Ronda tried to stand and trade. Holly stayed composed, circled away, and countered with precision. She used footwork that Ronda couldn't track. She used movement that Ronda had never trained against. Ronda chased her. Holly punished her. Again and again. By the end of the first round, Ronda's face was red, swollen, and exhausted. The aura was cracking. For the first time ever, people watching realized Ronda Rousey was in serious trouble. Early in round 2, the world witnessed a moment that would echo through MMA history. Ronda stumbled forward, off balance and desperate. Holly saw the opening, stepped to the side, and launched a left high kick. It landed perfectly. Ronda collapsed face first. The crowd went silent, then erupted. The unbeatable champion was unconscious. The kick wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a painful, emotional downfall. After the loss, Ronda disappeared completely. No interviews, no statements, no explanations. Months later, when she finally spoke publicly, the world learned how deeply the loss had hurt her. She revealed she had sat in the medical room after the knockout, thinking about ending her own life. The defeat didn't just take her belt, it took her confidence, her identity, and her sense of self. The world felt sympathy, but also uncertainty. Could she come back? Should she come back? Was she still the same fighter? The sport had evolved while she was gone. The women entering the division were real strikers, real athletes, and far more complete than the women she had beaten years earlier. But the UFC needed their star back. So they brought her into an immediate title fight the moment she returned, this time against Amanda Nunes. And Amanda was more dangerous than anyone she had ever faced. For more than a year after the knockout by Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey stayed away from the spotlight. She trained quietly, tried to rebuild her mindset, and worked to restore her confidence. The UFC, meanwhile, waited for her. They needed their biggest female star. Fans wanted to know if she could rise again. Finally, in December 2016, Ronda agreed to return. Her comeback fight was set for UFC 207, and it was not an easy matchup. She would face the new champion, Amanda Nunes, a powerful striker, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, and one of the most dangerous fighters the sport had ever seen. Many believed Ronda needed a warm-up fight first, but the UFC promoted it as a redemption story. They advertised her return as if she were still the unstoppable champion, ignoring everything that had changed. Ronda entered the arena with intensity, The crowd was loud, excited, and hopeful. People believed this was her chance to reclaim everything she had lost. But within seconds of the fight beginning, that hope vanished. The bell rang, and Ronda rushed forward immediately, just like the old days. But this time, she wasn't facing someone who would crumble under pressure. Amanda Nunes stood her ground. Instead of backing away, she fired back with clean, powerful punches. Only 20 seconds into the round, Amanda landed a huge right hand that rocked Ronda. Her head snapped backward. Her legs wobbled. She was already in deep trouble. Amanda pushed forward without hesitation. Strike after strike connected with precision and power. Ronda's hands were too low, her chin too high, and her movement was almost non-existent. It was clear she had not improved the weaknesses that Holly Holm exposed. The beating became overwhelming. The referee had no choice but to stop the fight. 48 seconds. That was all it took for Amanda Nunes to end Ronda Rousey's MMA career forever. She didn't just lose, she was overwhelmed, broken, and outmatched in every way. The arena was stunned. The woman who once seemed invincible had just suffered her second straight knockout in less than a minute. Once again, Ronda left without speaking to reporters. No interview, no message to fans, no explanation. She walked out of the arena and stepped away from the sport completely. She would never fight again. Why the downfall happened? Ronda's fall was shocking but not mysterious. When you look closely, the reasons are clear. 1. She stopped evolving. In the early years, Ronda was ahead of the competition. Her judo was elite. Her submissions were deadly. But while she became famous, the division improved. Women with strong striking backgrounds entered the UFC. Boxers, kickboxers, Muay Thai specialists. Ronda never adapted to this new level. She relied on the same tools she had always used. She didn't grow, even as the world around her did. 2. She believed her own hype. Her coach convinced her she was an excellent striker when she wasn't. She was told she didn't need to adjust, didn't need to improve, didn't need to change anything. Ronda trusted those voices, and it blinded her to the gaps in her game. The false belief in her striking led directly to both losses. Instead of using her world-class grappling, she tried to box against world-class strikers and paid the price. 3. Poor coaching and the wrong environment. Ronda stayed with the same team after the Holly Holm loss. Instead of making changes, bringing in new coaches, or challenging her weaknesses, she continued training the same way. Her camp didn't evolve, her skills didn't grow, and when she faced fighters who were complete and dangerous, she had no new tools to rely on. 4. Emotional pressure and personal struggles. Ronda carried the weight of being the face of women's MMA. She was under constant pressure. The loss to Holly didn't just hurt her physically, it broke her emotionally. Her admission that she had considered suicide showed how deeply the defeat affected her. With her confidence shattered, coming back stronger was nearly impossible. 5. The sport passed her. This is the reality of combat sports. If you stop improving, the sport moves ahead without you. New talent arrives. Skills evolve. Strategies change. Ronda was no longer fighting beginners. She was fighting complete athletes, and she wasn't ready for them. After the Amanda Nunes fight, Ronda Rousey never returned to MMA. She didn't hold a retirement press conference. She didn't announce her departure. She simply left. Over time, she transitioned into professional wrestling with WWE. She started a family. She became an author. She explored new careers and personal goals. Although she stayed silent about MMA, fans continued to debate her legacy. Some believed her fall erased everything she accomplished. Others argued her early dominance was proof of her greatness. So which is true? To understand Ronda's legacy, you must separate her rise from her fall, but also recognize how both shaped her story. 1. She built women's MMA before Ronda. Women's fights didn't exist in the UFC. Dana White famously said it would never happen. Ronda changed that. She forced the biggest MMA organization in the world to open its doors to female athletes. Without her, there may not have been divisions for Amanda Nunes, Valentina Shevchenko, Zhang Weili, Rose Namajunas, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and many others who came later. 2. She inspired millions. Ronda brought new fans, especially young girls, to combat sports. She showed that women were not only capable of competing at the highest level, but could also become global superstars. 3. She set records never seen before. 12 straight first-round finishes, multiple title defenses, main event pay-per-views, stadium-level crowds. These achievements were groundbreaking. 4. She proved dominance has limits. Ronda's downfall also carries an important lesson. No one is untouchable. Even the most dominant champions can fall if they stop improving. Her story is a reminder that evolution is necessary for survival in any sport. 5. She left before the sport broke her further. Some criticize her for not fighting again after the losses, but truthfully, her body and mind needed rest. The sport had changed. She wasn't prepared for the new generation. Walking away protected her from further damage. Her exit was quiet, but her impact was loud. Ronda Rousey's journey is one of the most powerful and most complicated stories in MMA. It is a story of greatness, struggle, success, and heartbreak. She rose higher than anyone before her. She fell faster than anyone expected. But through it all, she changed the sport forever. Her story teaches us, dominance doesn't last forever. Legends are still human. Strength is not just about winning, it's also about stepping away. You must evolve to survive. Ronda Rousey may no longer fight, but her influence will last for generations. Every woman who enters the octagon today does so because Ronda once broke the door down. Her career ended in 59 seconds of defeat. But her legacy was built over years of triumph. A pioneer, a champion, a warning, a legend. Ronda Rousey proved women belonged in the UFC, and she proved that even legends can fall.